also thank all the Japa leads. Today is 28th June 2023, and a very warm welcome for all of them for a short Bhagavatam class. I request all the co-hosts to kindly take care of the mutes and unmutes during the Bhagavatam class. So let's start with the prayers, and before that we can do short kirtan. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Jai Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari, Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari, Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana, Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana, Yamunatira Vanachari, Yamunatira Vanachari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So welcome all the devotees for Shubha Mangalarati Japa session. After the Japa session, it's very auspicious to hear the all auspicious Srimad Bhagavatam. And we are in first canto, 7th chapter, the son of Durana punished. This is the flow chart of the first canto, 7th chapter. Now we are still there in the first part, that is Vyasa's meditation. Vyasadeva saw the Lord and his external energy, Jiva, misidentifies and supports. Miseries will be mitigated by devotional service. And this point is going to be covered in today's parts. Thus, Vyasadeva compiled the all auspicious Srimad Bhagavatam. You know, the title picture is the son of Durna punished. So Draupadi has taken all the austerities and she became a role model for all the female devotees, especially in ISKCON. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrutyam Dharam Chaiva Narottamam Devin Saraswatim Vyasam Tado Jayam Udirayet Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistike Mukham Karati Vajalam Pangam Langayate Girim Yatkrupatvamaham Mande Shri Guru Dinataram Paramananda Madhavam. Hare Krishna. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam 1.7.6, Sonakrishi to Sutta Goswami. Anarto Pashamam Sakshat.
Anartho Upashamam Sakshat.
Bhakti Yogam Madhokshaje.
Bhakti Yogam Adhokshaje.
Lakshya Janato Vidvams. Lokasya Janato Vidvams.
Lokasya Janata Vidvams.
Chakre Satvata Samhitam.
Chakre Satvata Samhitam.
Thank you, Mataji. Word meaning, translation, and purport by His Divine Grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anartha, things which are superfluous, Upashama, mitigation, Sakshat directly, Bhakti Yogam, the linking process of devotional service, Adokshaje, onto the transcendence, Lokashya, of the general mass of men, Ajanataha, those who are unaware of, Vidwan, the supremely learned, Chakre, compiled the Satvata in relation with the supreme truth, Samhitam, Vedic literature. Translation, the material miseries of the living entity, which are superfluous to him, can be directly mitigated by linking process of devotional service. But the mass of people do not know this, and therefore the learned Vyasdeva compiled this Vedic literature, which is in relation to the supreme truth, purport. Still, Vyasdeva saw the all-perfect personality of Godhead. This statement suggests that the complete unit of the personality of Godhead includes his parts and parcels also. He saw therefore his different energies, namely the internal energy, the marginal energy, and the external energy. He also saw his different plenary portions and parts of the plenary portions, namely his different incarnations also. And he specifically observed the unwanted miseries of the conditioned souls who are bewildered by the external energy. And at last he saw the remedial measure for the conditioned souls, namely the process of devotional service. It is a great transcendental science and begins with the process of hearing and chanting the name, fame, glory, etc. of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Revival of the torment affection or love of Godhead does not depend on the mechanical system of hearing and chanting, but it solely and wholly depends on the causeless mercy of the Lord. When the Lord is fully satisfied with the sincere efforts of the devotee, he may endow him with his loving transcendental service, but even with the prescribed forms of hearing and chanting, there is advanced mitigation of the superfluous and unwanted miseries of material existence. Such mitigation of material affection does not wait for development of transcendental knowledge. Rather, knowledge is dependent on the devotional service for the ultimate realization of the supreme truth. Om Tat Sat. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshmurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So as usual we have this wonderful Bhagavatam class. So the first word says Anartho Pashamam Sakshat. Anartha means things that are superfluous. Actually, we do not want this, we do not desire this, these anarthas, but still they are coming because we are in the material world, and by default we are supposed to take what how it comes. However, the remedial measure and the panacea, the problem solving techniques and methods have already been given. So here Vasudeva says that the mass of people do not know this. The material miseries of the living entity, which are superfluous to him, can be directly mitigated not by on our own human endeavor, but we need to link the process of devotional service. Nowadays, many people they use a credit card, debit card, or election card, or so many other cards. But for all of them, government has given one wonderful link, that is, Aadhaar card. If we need to link everything with our Aadhaar card, because it is Aadhaar means it is a source. Similarly, to mitigate all our problems in this material world, this linking process of devotional service, which is mentioned in a Bhakti Yogam Adokshaje, this Bhakti Yogam we need to link. But without doing this Bhakti Yogam, and nobody can be perfect, nobody can mitigate their miseries. They may be doing some other yogasanas and so-called other yogas. They may get little benefit out of that. But the ultimate stage in devotional service, into all yogas is the Bhakti Yoga. If anybody is not fitting into that, they have to suffer a lot. For this reason, Srila Vyasdeva says, but the mass of people do not know this, and therefore learned Vyasdeva compiled this Vedic literature. And Vedic literature is nothing but is like, troubleshooting to all this material world. because it is in relation with the supreme truth, that is Krishna. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says very nicely that Vasudevasa, all perfect personality of Godhead, like in different angles and various respects, Srila Vasudeva had the vision of the Lord. He had a darshan of the Lord, and he also came to know who is the Bhagavan. And like Aishwaryasya, Samagrasya, Viryasya, Yashasya, Shriya. In this way, he can able to uh, directly see the Lord and his Shakti and his various energies, and how he belonged, how all the living entities belong to the Lord. What is the relationship? He had been completely endowed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna about his various energies. And also Vasudeva saw the plenary portions and parts of the plenary portions of the Lord, just like Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, various other avatars. Many people they may be very particular in um, worshipping one avatar, but the Srimad Bhagavatam it is mentioned, Etecham Sakala Pumsha Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. All these parts and plenary portions, all avatars, they are coming from the source, that is Krishna. And Vasudeva has very much confirmed to the mass of people through this Vedic literature of Srimad Bhagavatam that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. So we should be very, confident and firm in our understanding that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. From him come all avatars. If anybody knows that, then he will give his heart and soul in worshipping the Lord. Thereby, the Lord will surely, remove all his various coverings in front of him. And here, the unwanted miseries of the conditioned souls are, birth, death, old age, disease. These are actually we don't want. Nobody wants his hair to be white, but it is getting white. Nobody wants any diseases, but diseases are coming. Nobody wants to die. This is very, very important. He knew that his great grandfather died, his grandfather died, his father also died. He is also going to die. He is sure, but he thinks that he is not going to die. He can be eternal, and this is called illusion. In other way, we can say this is also a kind of a misery only. But he has to take it. But the body does not agree for this mandate. So he has to undergo various problems. But if we can come to know that where are all coming, why am I suffering? And if he comes to know this great science, like Srila Prabhupada says, it is a great transcendental science and begins with the process of hearing and chanting. What is that hearing and chanting? About Krishna, like how Krishna has performed wonderful pastimes in Mathura, Gokul, Vrindavan, and how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also, who is none other than Krishna himself, he exhibited his wonderful pastimes, 50% of his family in Navadip, 50% of his family in Jagannath Puri, and how he enlightened the whole people and gave the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. These are all the various remedial measures. Just by hearing the holy name of the Lord, just by chanting the holy name of the Lord, and also attentively hearing various leelas of the Lord, our material miseries will be completely vanquished. So everybody, either you are African, American, Australian, Indian, or Pakistani, whoever it may be, everybody has got Krishna consciousness in dormant stage. It is there. They have to only get in touch with the devotional service. Then they will, revive the dormant affection of love of Godhead. And here Prabhupada says it does not depend on any mechanical system of hearing and chanting. In the sense, we also chant getting up early in the morning. But if we do not chant attentively, that becomes mechanical action. Just for the sake of chanting and hearing, we do this. And there isn't much benefit of that. We are supposed to understand who is the Supreme Lord. What are his glorious activities? So that is why Srila Prabhupada mentions here, it solely and wholly depends on the causeless mercy of the Lord. Because, we may be the Karta, and the field also we have Kshetra and the Kshetrajna, everything we learnt in Bhagavad Gita. But if the mercy of the Lord is not coming, it is the rest of them are useless actually. Then how do we get the mercy of the Lord? Through his devotees, who is a representative of Krishna, is Guru. We should have a Guru Karuna. Then everything is possible. So when the Lord is fully satisfied with the sincere efforts of the devotee, he may endow with him his loving transcendental service. Like Lord, being in the heart, he became a CCTV. He has been observing what this fellow has been doing in the previous birth, previous to previous, 100 births, 200, 5,000 births back, how he was. And anyway, I think now he is gradually elevating. He is getting himself Krishna consciousness. And in this birth, he is nicely serving me. But whereas in the previous birth, he had never served me. Now he started serving and he participated Rath Yatra. He performed, my birthday, that is Janmashtami, and also he comes for various other festivals. And he is very cordial, and he has got loving relationship with all the devotees. Fine. Now I will completely remove all his mitigation in this birth itself, and I see that he will come back to me. In this way, Supreme Lord is endowing his wonderful blessings on the particular person, because he is now satisfied because of our sincere and regular services. So, but even with the prescribed forms of hearing and chanting, there is advanced mitigation of the superfluous and unwanted miseries of material existence. Such mitigation of material affection does not wait for development of transcendental knowledge. Actually, during Rath Yatra, one person was talking to me, and he wants himself to be very knowledgeable person. But here Prabhupada says it is not required. You can have a minimum knowledge that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but you need not to be master of this knowledge. There is no need. Why? Just the grace of the spiritual master is sufficient for us. With his grace, even Jesus Christ says, just my grace is sufficient for you. Similarly, Guru also says that Guru's grace is sufficient for us, so that with his mercy we can able to pick up in devotional service. So knowledge is dependent on devotional service for the ultimate realization of the supreme truth. In this way, one is supposed to engage himself completely to mitigate all this devotional service, and he should not hanker for material things like, I am constructing the house, or I am a big businessman, or I am going to be a wonderful personality and MLA, MP. And in this way, he is trying to do himself, he does not get anything out of that. And he has to undergo so many miseries. Just like I mentioned one example, Aadhaar card linking. So to mitigate all these problems, we are supposed to link our devotional service, then everything will uh, come in favor of Krishna consciousness. That is the remedial measure. Just like a doctor gives prescription, and we also take this prescription and follow it very sincerely, then the task is easy. Mainly these unwanted miseries are like Adhyatmik, Adi Daivik, and Adi Baudik, and Arishad Bhagas, Kama, Koda, Mada, Macharya, all these items. But these miseries are coming without our asking, and we have to undergo. If we are not Krishna consciousness, we have to suffer a lot. If we are Krishna consciousness, Krishna will take care of all our material miseries. So unfortunately, the living entity thinks that he is the doer, and thereby he suffers a lot. And if who is a person who is in Krishna consciousness, he thinks that I am not the doer, I am not the karta, and Krishna is the supreme karta. Then his understanding is very, very perfect. Okay, so with this I will conclude my session. And there is one wonderful video on this for 5 minutes. So I will request all of you to kindly focus on this video. And at the end, as usual, I'm going to ask you some questions also. Okay, so let's watch this video.
14. The three modes of material nature. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Again I shall declare to you this supreme wisdom, the best of all knowledge, knowing which all the sages have attained the supreme perfection. By becoming fixed in this knowledge, one can attain to the transcendental nature like my own. Thus established, one is not born at the time of creation or disturbed at the time of dissolution. The total material substance called Brahman is the source of birth, and it is that Brahman that I impregnate, making possible the births of all living beings, O son of Bharata. It should be understood that all species of life, O son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in this material nature, and that I am the seed-giving father. Material nature consists of three modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. When the eternal living entity comes in contact with nature, O mighty armed Arjuna, he becomes conditioned by these modes. O sinless one, the mode of goodness, being purer than the others, is illuminating, and it frees one from all sinful reactions. Those situated in that mode become conditioned by a sense of happiness and knowledge. The mode of passion is born of unlimited desires and longings, O son of Kunti, and because of this the embodied living entity is bound to material fruitive actions. O son of Bharata, know that the mode of darkness, born of ignorance, is the delusion of all embodied living entities. The results of this mode are madness, indolence, and sleep, which bind the conditioned soul. O son of Bharata, the mode of goodness conditions one to happiness, passion conditions one to fruitive action, and ignorance, covering one's knowledge, binds one to madness. Sometimes the mode of goodness becomes prominent, defeating the modes of passion and ignorance, O son of Bharata. Sometimes the mode of passion defeats goodness and ignorance, and at other times ignorance defeats goodness and passion. In this way there is always competition for supremacy. The manifestations of the mode of goodness can be experienced when all the gates of the body are illuminated by knowledge. O chief of the Bharatas, when there is an increase in the mode of passion, the symptoms of great attachment, fruitive activity, intense endeavor, and uncontrollable desire and hankering develop. When there is an increase in the mode of ignorance, O son of Kuru, darkness, inertia, madness, and illusion are manifested. When one dies in the mode of goodness, he attains to the pure higher planets of the great sages. When one dies in the mode of passion, he takes birth among those engaged in fruitive activities. And when one dies in the mode of ignorance, he takes birth in the animal kingdom. The result of pious action is pure, and is said to be in the mode of goodness, but action done in the mode of passion results in misery, and action performed in the mode of ignorance results in foolishness. From the mode of goodness, real knowledge develops. From the mode of passion, greed develops, and from the mode of ignorance develops foolishness, madness, and illusion. Those situated in the mode of goodness gradually go upward to the higher planets. Those in the mode of passion live on the earthly planets, and those in the abominable mode of ignorance go down to the hellish worlds. When one properly sees that in all activities no other performer is at work than these modes of nature, and he knows the Supreme Lord, who is transcendental to all these modes, he attains my spiritual nature. When the embodied being is able to transcend these three modes associated with the material body, he can become free from birth, death, old age, and their distresses, and can enjoy nectar even in this life. Arjuna inquired, "O my dear Lord, by which symptoms is one known who is transcendental to these three modes? What is his behavior, and how does he transcend the modes of nature?" The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "O son of Pandu, he who does not hate illumination, attachment and delusion when they are present, or long for them when they disappear, who is unwavering and undisturbed through all these reactions of the material qualities, remaining neutral and transcendental, knowing that the modes alone are active, who is situated in the self and regards alike happiness and distress, who looks upon a lump of earth, a stone, and a piece of gold with an equal eye, who is equal toward the desirable and the undesirable, who is steady, situated equally well in praise and blame, honor and dishonor, who treats alike both friend and enemy, and who has renounced all material activities. Such a person is said to have transcended the modes of nature. One who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature, and thus comes to the level of Brahman. And I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal, and is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness.
Hare Krishna. So in this way, if one is fully devoted to the Supreme Lord, then these material miseries will be mitigated, and he will go back to the Godhead. So in the verse it is mentioned that material miseries of the living entity, which are actually superfluous, actually just like in the desert, an animal thinks that there are some oases, but water appears to come, but there is no water. Like that, this animal runs and runs and runs, and finally the animal dies. So in the material world also, a living entity is hankering for various things, but actually you should hanker for Krishna consciousness. And nobody can say any excuse that this Krishna consciousness is not available. It is very much available, and because of our lethargy, we are not taking, or because of many people, because of their foolishness, they are unable to understand Krishna. They think he is a religious person. No, Krishna is not belong to any religion, Hindu, Muslim, Christian. No, he is the Supreme Lord for the whole cosmos. Okay, so in this way, if one becomes a devotee of the Lord, and he has all the remedial methods to mitigate all these material miseries and go back to Godhead and serve the Lord eternally there, and he can be very happy. Thank you very much. Vandana Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Gurudev ki jai.